Anti-Afro Spengalis. I have a clip I want you to hear. It's referencing Grown Man and M3. And I'm going to have to edit out the most vulgar parts of this clip, but you can pretty much guess what's being said when you hear the beep. So stay tuned and I will return.
Grown man, I'm like, grown man don't even got a channel. This nigga still mad about the song I made about his wife from the back.
Honest though, wife, right? If someone made a song about your wife, you wouldn't get over it.
Yeah, I'll be over it. I'll make a song back, but I'm not gonna hold no grudge for fucking forever. I don't really want to this crazy ass wife. And then the bitch sit there and talk about she blamed me for having she had to go to a fucking rehab. Get the fuck out of here.
Wait, rehab for real? Rehab?
Yes, come on. I should have got a lawyer because I blamed you for why I had to go to rehab. I'm like, damn, she could do what you going to fucking rehab. How the fuck I knew you was a alcoholic or drug addict? I don't know what the fuck what her drug of choice was. How the fuck you gonna blame that on me because I made a song?
Would you find it surprising that neither M3 or Grown Man filed a complaint against Dumpsy D. Durrell? Would you be surprised to learn when Pick Bernice tried to get M3 to file a complaint against Dumpsy, she freaked out. I don't want to file no complaint. He hasn't done anything to me. I don't want to get the law involved. That's what she said. However, M3 filed false reports against Rev G with absolutely no attachments and no evidence, but was unwilling to file a complaint against Dumpsy D. Durrell, although she has tons of documentation, not just with this video, but others. Tons of video footage of Dumpsy D. Durrell denigrating Grown Man based on his criminal justice background. Now, you can mention someone's criminal justice background, but it's got to be in context. Never filed a complaint. Now, we have filed complaints against Dumpsy D. Durrell denigrating people's criminal justice backgrounds, and he's lost contracts. But let me tell you the reason why Grown Man and M3 don't bother filing complaints against Dumpsy D. Durrell, because it's not going to get them any YouTube bump. It's not going to get them any YouTube shine. They sure as hell aren't going to get 1 red cent for talking about filing a complaint against Dumpsy D. Durrell. But you know what's going to happen when you talk about Rev G. It's most certainly not going to get them any cash apps from Rage Pigs or anyone else. Talking about Dumpsy D. Durrell? No, they're not going to get anything out of it by doing anything with Dumpsy, to Dumpsy, or about Dumpsy. You need to make your comments. You need to file your complaints. You need to target Rev G. You need to target Smoke. You need to target Keeping It Plain. Me, AAS, the one speaking. You definitely will get paid for doing something like that. They surely got something out of it, sending that information over to Antonio Johnson, DJ Drama. Antonio Johnson about Rev G. I'm sure she got money behind that. He put that on YouTube. That made money. And guess what ended up happening? Antonio Johnson got his ass fired and his law enforcement credentials revoked. Oh my God, they can't stand it. They just can't stand the fact that they don't have anything even remotely related that would even come in the hemisphere of getting any of our documentation, our certifications, or licenses revoked with respect to what we do in our profession. And yes, Rev G does have licenses and certificates. You just don't know what they are. You're not going to get any of them revoked even if you knew what they were. What they wanted for us so badly, based on no offenses, is what Antonio Johnson got. Just imagine Antonio Johnson threw his career away for a bunch of frauds and phonies. Grown Man is a fraud. He's a phony. April is also a fraud and a phony. She lives to be able to have Grown Man lie about people on YouTube. That's the way of life. You get on here and you better tell lies on these people, or you don't lay your head down. I'm not giving you money for shoes, or I'm going to take you to court. I don't know how much more she can do about the court situation, but that was going on for 18 freaking years. Do this to that person. Do this to that person. Or else I'll do this to you. he's living essentially in a cage. And what she does is has the food between the cages, like between the bars, opens up the bar doors and moves her hand so he's following the food outside. And if you don't do this, I'm going to put you back in that cage. It's the same thing with Carrie Ann running around these YouTube streets with a lighter, going up to people and holding it to their face. Do you think Antonio Johnson should have got fired? She wants them to say no. She has the lighter right there in their face. Oh, please. These are some pathetic tactics that we're simply not going to cave to. This is their main focus. How can they elevate themselves on YouTube? In order to do that, there's only specific people that they will have to mention in order for anybody to be remotely interested. They got to mention Rev G. They got to mention me. Of course, they got to mention Smoke and or Keeping It Plain. They can't even get any shine anymore mentioning the Beef Sector remix. They don't even care about that. No one's going to care. What's happened is Grown Man and M3 put Gerald Palmer / Rev G in the position to be reveled, to be elevated by others in that Umar Johnson sector, specifically because he has kept Grown Man and M3 occupied over the past, I would say, consistently over the last month and a half. And there have been other periods in time where Rev G kept Grown Man and M3 occupied. The reason why the Umar Johnson sector is thanking Rev G, and I never thought I would see the day, is because it takes the pressure and the heat and the responsibility off of them. All the others who do live streams don't have to try to figure out how to come up with fake, phony-ass compliments about Grown Man and trying to make him feel that he's important as he so badly wants to be. They don't want to have to deal with him coming up on a panel postulating like he's running the most dangerous gang in the whole prison underworld. They don't want to play that game. They don't want to perpetrate that they actually give a shit about what he has to say because he's a phony. Yes, you are a phony. You're non-reformed. And let me say this before I go on to anybody out there who has past or current criminal justice involvement and you're getting yourself together, working on getting yourself together, I have every respect for you. I don't have respect for Grown Man because he continues to threaten to kill people. He continues to threaten violence. He attacks innocent children and family members. That's in no way being reformed. And then he turns around and says, I don't respect the way he talked about that man's wife, and I don't like the way that man didn't defend his wife. You're such a hypocrite, Grown Man. Yes, I'm talking about you for a very specific reason. You so badly need to talk about Rev G so you can feel important on these YouTube streets. No one else is going to give a crap about what you say unless you talk about the people that I just mentioned. And don't even try to say it's because Dempsey didn't say something about my kid. Keeping It Plain saying something about your kid. Smoke is saying something about your kid, but you don't have anything for them. Why? Because you know if you continue to go back and forth with Rev G, that keeps you in the mix. It's too much for you to go back and forth with Smoke because Smoke has a different style. You don't want to go back and forth with Kip because he has a different style. What you think you can get away with is going back and forth with Rev G because Rev G won't say what they say, but Rev G can be just as effective in making sure he gets a situation under control. We've already seen that. And Rev G doesn't have to threaten to kill anybody or risk being arrested in the process. Now, I asked Rev G to just put ice blocks on these two not even worth addressing, but we all know Rev G is going to do what Rev G does. I personally don't think they deserve 1 second more of his online attention. Offline is another story, but certainly not online. The point has been proven. But reiterating, you need to eat, Grown Man. You need some shoes, Grown Man, or you want some shoes. You want some cash in your hand, Grown Man. He's up there talking about gambling. You're at gambling halls? Oh my God. You need gambling money, Grown Man. So you better talk about Rev G or I'm going to cut you off. Well, Rev G doesn't have to talk about him. What he ultimately ends up doing, we know. Rev G's going to do what he's going to do. Make no mistake about it. He's going to get the situation under control to his satisfaction, not to grown man's satisfaction. He had to make up a lie when he screamed at Rev G on a panel and didn't want Rev G to come back at him. So when Rev G said, "You live in your mama's basement," he faked as if he was so upset that Rev G said something about his mother. Oh my God. Prior to that, do you know how many times grown man had talked shit about Rev G's family? Before that, made all these derogatory comments, but he thinks he deserves some prison underworld respect. You're not anyone to be respected. You are the one who strikes first. You went over there to ZX's channel because you needed a place to stay, and you attacked Rev G and you attacked me because you knew that would get some sort of recognition or some buzz. But there's just one problem. It didn't get much at all because I'm not even over there in those sectors. Although ZX is not in the B sector, he's adjacent. So if something happens on his channel, people are going to know. There was nothing for me to say. You did that because you wanted to make sure you got attention in the B sector, although you gay bash everybody, and the significant number of people in the B sector and adjacent, not including ZX though, are LGBTQ+. But that's where you went and got your numbers. You are not authentic. And here you are now. Let me explain what's happening now. Grown man is trying to find a way to justify perpetrating violence. So you're up here threatening violence on YouTube because you say that Rev G is talking about your kid. This is the same thing he pulled with Breaking the Culture of Silence. How they came up here mentioning their son, saying their son is on the spectrum, or saying, quote, he's autistic. And then when somebody references a statement in order to support their point because their families are being attacked, now here he comes saying you're talking about his kid, trying to shame, guilt, harass, and threaten people out of speaking and saying just what they have a right to say. It's the U.S. Constitution, First Amendment. There are parameters, and we are aware of those parameters, which grown man and April Bagley cross all the time. Your criminal records prove it. And I'm not shaming anybody with the criminal record. I'm focusing on the non-reformed. I don't have a criminal record. Rev G doesn't have a criminal record. Does that make us better? No. It shows that we've made better decisions, but it doesn't make us better people. You're making the specific conscious choice to do what you're doing, both M3 and grown man. Now he's up here saying, I didn't listen to the whole thing. People sent me a clip. He wants Rev G. He wants Rev G to talk about his kid. You keep talking about my kid. Excuse me, M3 is running around here saying that your son is, quote, autistic, and you know this. We've been through this how many times, people? I'm just doing a brief reminder. You are using your child as bait, just like Binary did. Binary, you know you did that shit. Now it's grown man and M3 who have for several years. And the more I think about it, the more I believe they set that situation up. Had that kid open up the YouTube and had him come out of the room knowing people were going to be looking. So now they can have something to scream and holler about from Kingdom Come. Okay, you filed the police report. The police are going to do something if someone is harming a child. Are you serious? They're going to do something about that. But if there's no crime and they find there's no crime, there just is no crime. But what they get to do is run around and do what? Say whatever the hell they want about any and everybody. But when someone comes back at them, this is when they think they have a right to threaten violence. Grown man, you don't have a right to threaten violence. Absolutely don't have a right to say what you're saying. You cannot in any way harass and threaten and shame us out of our professional roles and characterizing us in a way that you think is going to stick. You can say whatever you want. Like I said, it's a free damn country. We can speak. We can say whatever the hell we want. We're not here online working. You cannot hold us to anything. But what you can do, I will honor this. You can file a complaint. But this time, attach some damn documentation to see if it gets anywhere. Don't pull a Catherine Brown and make all these statements and don't have any proof. M3, April, filed a false police report with the Philadelphia Police Department and said that Rev G was attacking her son because he's, quote, autistic. That is what she said. You can't come on here and tell anybody they can't repeat that. You really think that we're supposed to look at you in a certain way to the point where we're going to decide to devalue our rights and put you over us, put M3 over us? We know it's connected, grown man. You have a place to stay. You got food to eat. You get to buy more shoes if you attack us. You're not going to get anywhere attacking anyone else. You're not going to get new shoes attacking Dante D. Durrell. Nobody in these YouTube streets is going to give a hoot. You don't want to go at smoke and you don't want to go at keeping it plain because it's too intense. But let me make sure this is clear. Rev G will be intense with you offline. Once that process starts, trust and believe it will be effective. And he can say, I'm not afraid of no cops. Well, tell the cops that when they knock on your door. I don't care how busy it is in Philadelphia. I don't care what crime spree is going on. If you continue making threats of violence, you're the one that's going to have to be answering to the law. You don't have a right to make any threats of violence because you claim someone is talking about your family. Does that mean Rev G gets to threaten you with violence then? Because you've been talking mad shit about his family for the longest, along with anyone else you have threatened. We don't give a hoot about anybody in your chat. We're not associated with them. They're not our friends. We don't care what they say. We only care about people who are crossing the line. M3 tried the same thing with me after we stopped dealing with each other. She was sending me emails thinking I'm going to take the email, get all hysterical and go do a video and tell everybody I don't care about it. We don't need you to do anything for YouTube, off YouTube. We have full lives. We don't care what lie you come up with. We know now grown man is known to say any kind of lie to try to get somebody to react to it. M3 is up here claiming she's got, someone said documentation. Well, why didn't you give it to the Philadelphia Police Department? Because you don't have shit. You don't have documentation. If you had something, you would do something with it. We may have to end up showing you what we're going to do with what we have. You are the ones involved with the Social Security crimes. Your names are on police reports. You're the one running around. Both of you got criminal records up here trying to trash folks. You got criminal records for cyberbullying children, for assaulting children and murder, carrying weapons you have no right to carry. You don't want to accept the punishment that you received. You are convicted felons. You don't have the right to carry weapons. You don't want to abide by the law, but you want us to look at you as someone that we should fear. Why should we fear you? You're an underworld boss. If you were an underworld boss, you'd be living better than you're living. You wouldn't be having to ask somebody on probation for money. You're consorting with someone on probation, which is another problem. They can get you wrapped up in another legal situation. They can call you as a witness. Because Rage Pigs is totally and completely out of control up in this bitch. And you are associating with him. That's a confirmed fact. But what do they want to do? They want to turn their attention to us and act like we're the ones. That's something that we need to change. We don't need to change anything. We don't have to respond to what you're saying online, but we're not going to allow you to threaten violence. We're going to run off and cower in the corner. No, we're not. They're doing it for a very specific reason. They use their child as bait so they can say they have a reason to go after Rev G because he's talking about their kid. That's bullshit, and you know it's bullshit. Like I stated before, he did the same thing with breaking the culture of silence. How many other cycles have they been through saying a specific person is attacking their child or talking about their child or insulting their child? Isn't this like the 7th time? This is how they stay in the mix. Anything else they talk about, nobody freaking cares to the point where they're going to give them money for it. They only have to say shit and threaten certain people, do certain things, appear in certain locations. They want a grand splash because they're expecting people just to come and start doing all this content. That is it. That's all you have. You cannot talk about anything else that anyone gives a shit about. What does that say about you in terms of you claiming to be so important? The stories are contradicting anyway that he puts out there. And he was up there crying and screaming because somebody challenged his reputation in the community. Oh, please. Who in the hell is going to sit up here and go back and forth with someone on YouTube who says they're not important? We're not complaining because he says we're not important. He needs to be seen in a certain way for him to feel good about being on YouTube. And if anyone challenges that, here he comes with the threats. Do you not get it through your head? We don't associate with you. We have nothing to do with you. You have no business doing the shit that you're doing. It's illegal. We are not breaking the law. Go ahead and get your Catherine Brown on if you want to get your Catherine Brown on. She filed that document saying, like, making all these claims, mercenary, this. I was going through a federal background investigation at the time. They went through all of that shit. Okay, she's making these claims. So what we're trying to find is where's the evidence? She attached a bunch of stuff, but guess what, people? None of it matched up with what she said. I'm not worried about anyone doing anything to me professionally, and neither is Rev G, because there's no conduct and there's no behavior that you can put forth. You've already tried it. But, I'm not saying don't try it again. Keep at it. But just like Carrie Ann is trying to find every little nook and cranny, every little statement, every little word, thinking that we would anyway catch up to her globalized attacks on protected classes. This is what grown man does. This is what M3 does. She claims her brother was gay, the one she says took his life right in front of her face. She said he was gay, but what does she do? What does grown man do all day, every day? Attack gay people. She said his last words, nobody loves me. I believe it. I believe it. Even in death, she continues to curse her own brother and has the nerve to sit here and talk about somebody's family condition or family situation. I stated this before and I stated it again. I am freaking immune to anything that these freaks say about me and or my family or any lies or whatever rumors you want to put out. I don't give a shit about it. But obviously, you're too thin-skinned to have the same disposition because you can't take anything from me. What are you going to take from me? You're going to break the law to take something from me? You're going to break the law to take something from Red G? You already shown you're willing to do that. That is your history. That is not our history, but you can't bring us under your domain. You have no right to be making threats. What you're doing is illegal. And we will not tolerate anybody subjecting us to illegal behavior. Filing false reports is a crime. Go through that again and see what happens. Go undertake that round again. The outcome is not going to be pleasant. I will pursue anyone filing false police reports. Rev G is going to pursue the situation, but this was 3 years ago? You can't do anything about a cold misdemeanor. But if you want to revamp, you want to restart this again, we're not going to be silent offline this time. You have no right to try to enforce anything on us in your references to Las Vegas. Whoop-de-doo-doo. Is that supposed to shut us up too? We have a right to speak, and if we choose to speak, we will do so. It will be 100% on our terms, not yours. Listen, folks, I always have more to say. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware. You got what you got. It blew up in their faces. They can't stand the fact that they don't have any goods that's going to result in us receiving any punitive action. We're not going to lose any money, nothing. You can talk about all day, every day when Rev G lost a job. He didn't lose a job because somebody from YouTube called and says, Rev G's doing this on YouTube. You can say that all you want. It didn't happen that way. But that's the only thing they can say to placate themselves. Rev G is at his pinnacle. So anything that grown man says about Rev G, it's going to have an impact on his profession. You're not hurting his feelings. You're not hurting anyone's feelings. What M3 has to say about Rev G's profession, so what? You don't stand in judgment. You're not making sure Rev G signed another contract. You can't get in the middle of that. They've tried and you have failed. How do you feel about failing? You don't have any evidence. You don't have any proof. You don't have any goods. And they feel good about lying. It's a way of life for them to lie on people and then try to figure out a way to harass and intimidate you into silence. You're dealing with the wrong people. This is not how we are. If we decide to go silent on an issue, it's because we decide to go silent, because we're not playing your games. That's the only measure of silence. That is the only reason that we would go silent. It has shit to do with anyone being afraid. Afraid of what? You failed. You don't have documentation. You don't have proof. You don't have evidence of what you're claiming. We have the goods. I specifically stated in my report that I sent in. People sent in different reports. What I said about Antonio Johnson, 99% went through, except for the Social Security, because there wasn't enough time to gather the documentation from Binary's channel. So we got what we were looking for as far as what we sent in on Antonio Johnson, and it included these false reports, the slander that you wanted Antonio Johnson to put on his page, and it blew up in his face. How do you feel about that?